Hi everyone, I'm Hillary Topper from We Are Triathletes, and I'm really excited because Shawn Tannenbaum is right here in my living room, and he is from Total Master Swimming, and he's going to talk all about open water swimming and how to really get faster in the open water. And without further ado, I'm turning my computer to Shawn.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
So let's get going with this. First off, I want to ask you about tides and currents, okay? Is there a trick to getting through that without it pushing you back? I mean, there are times when I'm swimming and I'll swim, 1:30 going out, and then coming back, it's like 3:15. So how do you equalize that?
So I think the first trick is be the last one in the water, right? Benefit from watching everybody go out, and that's in a race or in a practice, right? We can just be smarter instead of working harder. So if possible, you want to definitely start and swim against the current first, right? You have all your energy at the beginning of practice, right? In a race, hopefully they'll change, with the tides or currents if they can. But definitely be the last one in the water. Watch them stand there. You'll feel on your feet the water moving beneath you so that you can really accommodate yourself for that. So maybe half your practice is against the current, and then the second half you can swim with it as you're getting tired. I just had a long swim the other day, and so a lot of that swim, what I was really trying to do was swim with the current going one direction, because we didn't have a lot of room to swim, but then I was able to hug the land. So literally, the closer you get to land, that water's a little bit sheltered, so there's not as much current, and you should really be able to feel a big difference as you're doing that. And so for me, I really wasn't fighting the current in any direction because I hugged the land.
Interesting. So for a race or for a practice, you are suggesting that we hug the land so that we don't feel it as much.
Right. You probably won't be able to do that in a race. So in a race, they might manipulate where they're going to be swimming at that time. But if they don't, if you're the last one in, you can position yourself to swim around that buoy a little bit smarter. So if you see people drifting and it's taking them too close to the buoy, too far on the right side, well, you might start on the left side of the buoy, right? As far to the left as possible. And so you might just swim a straight line to that buoy rather than swimming all the way to the right and having to go around it. So definitely watch what the people in front of you are doing.
So in that vein, right, and I'm sure all of you guys know and feel this way too, I feel that when you're doing a race, it to me is like a battleground, right? Like everybody runs into the water, if it's running in, or everyone just starts together. People are flailing all over the place. You're getting kicked in the face. How do you prevent that from happening?
Well, you had recently told me about your experience, and you said that maybe the race organizers could do a rolling start or start everything differently. And so I asked you, all right, whose fault was it that you got hit and kicked? And you thought it was maybe the race organizers could have done a better job, but I blamed it on you, unfortunately. so I appreciate you letting me pick on you here, right? Because you had the ability to maybe start after everyone else left, unless you thought you were going to win the race or get on the podium, which if you did, great, you want to start right away. Or if it's a right-hand turn around the buoy, I like to start on the far left. So everyone's really crowding together. They're going to hit and kick each other and probably slow each other down. But I'll start on the far side. I'll swim around them or just right next to them. And nobody hits me. I had the Long Beach Mile just last weekend, 2 weekends ago. And I swam completely alone. And nobody hit or kicked me. And it was a lot more enjoyable. Potentially, I swam faster because I didn't have to deal with anyone else as well.
Right.
So if it's a right-hand turn, you'll start on the left. A left-hand turn, you'll start on the right side.
All right. So then in that way, okay, so you get out, you're no one's around you, but when you're swimming along, someone comes up beside you and you are almost face to face with somebody like this, right? And the person then goes across or this way. How do you manipulate that? I mean, there's got to be some type of a strategy there when you're really neck and neck with somebody.
you really have to be aware of your surroundings. It's only on you to know who's to the right, the left, in front of you, and back of you. And the same in a pool. If you're swimming in the pool, I usually know exactly how many people are in my lane. So if I have to pass somebody, something like that. So it's really important that you understand what's happening around you. But somebody is going to come out of nowhere. They're going to swim in the totally wrong direction and cut you off. Right? So just, being aware, knowing that you could tread water for a moment. But for most of us age groupers, we're not winning the race. We might get on the podium. And so what's going to prevent us from getting on the podium in that case? Well, it might be that swimmer. Okay. So then in that case, right, just back off for a moment. Because if we let them throw us off our game, that threw off our whole race. But also being too focused on your time, right? You're so focused on your time, now you're going to not catch your breath. You're going to allow them to interfere. So you just take your time, swim steady, and I think everything else will fall into play. You'll monitor the people around you. You won't be as out of breath because you're not sprinting. Just stay at your own pace, and I think it'll all fall into play.
So one of the questions I also have, and I know a lot of the people maybe on this call or even who will be watching this video at some point, have said to me that they have this mental thing going in the water. They're like, you can't see the open water. You don't know what's swimming around you, right? How do you overcompensate for that? Is there something that you tell yourself before you start to gear yourself into, having a successful race or a successful swim?
Absolutely. So I tell myself first and foremost that I'm going to finish this, right? Regardless of any other factors, I'm going to start on the sand, I'm going to finish on the sand. So you're right, you can't see in most of the water here in New York, right? So I'll take my time, I'll breathe, and I'll stay in my comfort zone. The second I let somebody else interfere with that, or I get too far out of breath, not only have they won, they've thrown me off my game, and now probably nothing else matters. So just staying within, your comfort of breathing. And if you breathe every other stroke or every third stroke in practice, do that in a race. Don't change anything on race day. And, it's okay if you're not going to see the ground. Just know that, right, if sharks gobbled people up in every single race, there probably wouldn't be any races. So chances are we're going to be okay.
It looks like we have a question. What are some things that we could do during our pool swim to make us better in open water?
It's an excellent question. So if you're not already swimming with the masters teams like Total Master Swimming, you should, because they should be really covering a lot of this, especially as race season approaches, maybe not all winter, but you could definitely be sighting. So, there's some techniques to sighting, and it really could throw off our breathing, and it could throw off your neck position as well. So doing that in the pool will really help when you get into the open water. Not lifting your entire head out of the water, right? If I lift my entire head out of the water, my feet have to sink. So I call that crocodile eyes, just the eyes come up. And so that way you can really stay horizontal. But that's excellent to practice in the pool.
Yeah, I have a question about sighting, right? So, it seems to me that whenever I race, obviously I'm not such a great sighter because I always double the distance. But how do you stay on track? How do you keep that straight line when you're sighting?
Right. Honesty is the best policy. The best thing that I ever did was get eye surgery so that I could see those buoys and signs much better, see my coach on a paddleboard. That really helped me because I never swam with contacts or anything like that before. But making sure that you have good eyes, and if you don't, prescription goggles, optical image, they're going to set you up with good goggles. So making sure that first and foremost, you actually can see really well. But while you're doing it, just a nice, slow, steady sight, right? Some people, they'll really rush it, and then they might sight every other stroke or constantly. So I take my time when I sight and make sure I see that buoy. But again, I just make sure it's my eyes coming up because if it's my whole head, now my stroke is off. So you should also probably sight way more often than you are if you're really going off track. And then as well, there's all the arm position that can make your whole body fishtail and move side to side. So, your whole body position is ideal as well to stay straight, but sighting as often as possible within reason, as long as you're swimming straight is good. And sometimes I'll go to 10 or 15 strokes if I know I'm swimming really straight, no one's around me. But in a race where there's so many people around you and I'm rushing and I'm breathing hard, I might go 5 or 6 strokes to make sure I'm not off track.
So so you're saying, 5 strokes before to watch, is that the rule of thumb, or is there any rule of thumb?
I don't think there's a rule of thumb. You'll find what is really comfortable for you, and you're going to change that in every situation. So a more advanced swimmer is going to sight less until they get tired, until they're swimmers, and then they're going to probably want to sight more often as well. Mm-hmm. So probably sight more often than you're doing now, and breathe less than you're doing now.
Okay, cool. Now there's another question on the screen. It says, I feel really bad as a big person anytime I bump into someone. What's the proper etiquette when that happens? I'm not sure, Kevin, that's from you. I'm not sure if that means that in the pool or open water, but I guess you can address both.
Right.
Open water.
Sure.
Open water, okay.
Well, first off, in the pool, right, you'll just apologize at the wall. Don't stop swimming. That's going to throw everyone off behind you. But that's the same thing in open water, right? Don't stop and have a conversation while you're swimming. They know that they're swimming with you. They know they're going to get touched or hit, so just keep swimming. The best apology is don't do it a second time. Simple. It's going to happen.
Is there an etiquette for passing someone? You know, in the pool, sometimes you're swimming with maybe a slower group, or, you know, you're the slowest one in a faster group. Is there some type of an etiquette that you should be doing in order to pass that person?
In a pool, there's a tremendous amount of etiquette, but a lot of it should be laid out by the coach. Different coaches are going to have different methods. So on certain sets, in a pool, you would say, just don't pass at all. You should slow yourself down. And then in other sets, you might tap the person on the foot. That person should then go to the corner of the lane. When they get to the wall, they're going to wait and allow you to pass. And then you'd move pretty quickly right behind them so that everybody else stays where they are. So touching the foot is a good thing, and if you get touched on the foot, it is your job to stop. But that might not be the technique of your coach, so usually ask your coach at a master swim class what they prefer.
Okay, and we have another question from Justin. What is your recommendation for quickly getting through rough waves at the start of beach in a triathlon? He says, I do dolphin dives coming in at the end, but it's hard to start that way. So what would you recommend doing?
Sure.
And we were going to talk about that as well. So thanks for bringing that up, Justin.
And that's typically one of the most fun things for me is an ocean swim where there are waves. It makes it so much more interesting, but it does provide its own challenges. So the same way you're doing the dolphin dives to come out of the water, right? You're going to swim under the waves as they come. Now, as you're getting out into the water, then you can go over each wave, let the wave kind of carry you. It's kind of fun. But as the waves are crashing along shore, you want to go under them. You want to avoid that wave at all costs. So go right under it. You'll pop out the other side. You can even watch a surfing video. That's exactly what surfers do. It's a lot easier to go through the wave or under it than any time to go on top of it.
Do you teach that in your open water swimming, like how to come in and come out of the water? And I'm asking you that because I see a lot of times, like I've watched races where people, they stop, they don't swim as far as they can go. They stop where it's maybe, knee deep or whatever, and then start walking out. Or trying to run out, which is really slow.
Yeah. So both starting your swim and exiting the swim, there's something called porpoising. So that's going to give you the ability to run as little as possible in and out of the water. And if you've ever ran in a wetsuit one, that's exhausting. Ran in, thigh-high, knee-high water. I mean, it's really tiring. And I'm not a runner. I don't want to run. So that's when we porpoise, right? So you'll dive down like a dolphin. You're going to always put your hands down so that your face and neck never hits the bottom. So, you'll run, you'll kick your legs out to the side each time until the water gets about your knee or thigh. After that, it's too challenging, right? Then you're going to dive down with your hands, okay? Throw yourself up over the wave and then dive down again. So you're using your legs and your hands. You're throwing your whole body into it, and that should definitely save some energy. You definitely want to practice that before a race because that is tiring in and of itself. And that's a great way to go out. Once it gets deep enough to swim and take your full stroke, now you're swimming. And the same way coming out. You're tired from your swim, your hip flexors hurt, your calves. So you want to porpoise a few times, get to that water being thigh or knee high, and now it's time to run. And as you run, you want to kick your legs out to the side, get your feet out of the water. Running with your feet in the water is just going to make you more tired in transition.
Wow. That's interesting. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about wetsuits. Do wetsuits really, I mean, there are so many different brands of wetsuits out there, and Roka is a sponsor. But no, talk to us a little bit about what you should look for when buying a wetsuit.
So the first thing I would say is stop being reliant on your wetsuit. A wetsuit is great. It's going to keep you warm. It's going to be tremendously buoyant and help you. But right now, it's the end of August in New York. The water in Tow Bay, where Total Master Swimming and I swim, it's warmer than the pool is, right? So it is good to get out of the wetsuit a little bit. It changes your form from pool swimming. So being reliant on anything isn't necessarily the best thing. But there's always a time and place for a wetsuit. In a race, it's going to help you swim faster, so get a good wetsuit that you're comfortable with, that you've been training with. Maybe it's sleeves, maybe it's sleeveless. That's really a personal preference. But I know wetsuit does have its time and a place. But definitely try to swim every once in a while if it's not a warmth issue, without that wetsuit. And, water is more conductive than air. So if you're cold in the water, right, you're probably not even realizing that when you're done swimming, your body's going to keep getting cold. So if there is a chill in that water, you definitely want to wear a good wetsuit and stay warm. But once that water's warm enough, it's okay sometimes to get rid of it. Don't be too reliant on equipment. Rely on everything that you have.
Awesome. In terms of freezing water, okay, now you and I, we raced in a very, very cold ocean swim a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago. How do you deal with that, with that coldness? You get it on your face and it's burning your face. Like, how do you overcome that?
So before every race, I try to get in the water and get a warm up in. I get a warm up in not only for my shoulders to acclimate, right, get my breathing acclimated, but my body has to get used to that water. That was the coldest water I've ever swam in. There was a storm 2 nights before. It chilled out about 10 degrees less than normal. It was a wetsuit non-legal division that I was in. I was quite freezing. You were probably freezing in your wetsuit as well. So I think getting in the water to start will help acclimate you in most circumstances. But again, it comes back to just knowing, like, I'm okay. I'll probably warm up through most of it, but also know your limitations. I got out of that water after 1 mile of my 3 because I realized my body was not going to acclimate and my race was over. So if I didn't know my limits, I probably would have been rescued. A lot of people were, and I didn't want to cause anyone else to have to rescue me.
But there are times that you can't warm up. I mean, they just don't let you warm up.
Sure.
So now what? How do you warm up? And
Sure. So before you get in the water, I would come up with a game plan, right? What's my game plan? I'm going to start easy, right? So I can acclimate my breath so I'm not gasping for air, because that's the first thing that could go in cold water, right? Your chest feels very heavy, especially the wetsuit's tight. So starting easy and really staying with your breathing game, right? I like to have my swimmers go, every 4, maybe 5 strokes, they take a breath when they're feeling comfortable. But I wouldn't do that in cold water when I'm first starting. I'm going to breathe every other stroke, maybe every 3rd stroke if you're an alternate side breather. So just slowing down your game, and now you'll acclimate, you'll get a little bit warmer, you are in the wetsuit. But another great thing in the wetsuit, it's going to hurt right away, cold water. You want to let the water in the wetsuit, right? You want to go down, scoop it in, because a wetsuit warms you up by warming up the water inside of the suit. So scooping that water in, it'll feel cold right away, but you will absolutely get warmer as you start that race, as you start that swim.
Oh, wow, that's a great tip.
That's how wetsuits work.
Good. Does pool swimming really help to get faster in the open water?
So I would say that open water helps you get faster in the pool. The pool helps you become a better swimmer. There's probably a crossover for both, but I think that that's probably really where my head's at. So I swim all winter long. I correct my stroke, my inefficiencies, because that way a coach is watching me, making changes. And then in the open water, that's where, right, we're on a very long set. It's just a lot more straight swimming. We do some intervals, but you're going to cover a lot more distance in open water. So that's really where you're going to get stronger, I think, for the pool swim. So if you're not swimming open water in the summer, you should be, so you'll get stronger in the pool. And then if you're not swimming in a pool with a coach, then you're definitely missing out on a lot of the technique and the things that you don't know what you're doing.
Do you really think that can you get faster in the open water? And can you provide us with a couple of tips?
Absolutely. You could definitely get faster. Everybody can get faster. You remember what we worked on a little bit last night?
Mm-hmm.
Can we try a little bit of that right now?
Sure.
Just a little bit. Okay. So
It's going to embarrass me.
I'm going to try. All right. So Hillary, put your hands in a normal swimming position, the way that you were taught to swim, right? Just put your arms up where you were taught to swim. Okay. Put them over your head though. Okay.
Do you see this?
All right.
Okay.
So our arms are very narrow where they are right now. Now, right from that position, go to a push-up position.
Well, you said I do my push-ups wrong,
Right.
so I have to do it like
so
this.
most of us do push-ups here.
Like this, but
Okay.
no, like this.
So you're a push-up here, right? So you just showed me that you were taught to swim here.
Right.
I'll position myself here. So Hillary was taught to
Yeah.
taught to swim here. Okay. I couldn't stand here all night. My shoulders are a little bit tired as it is, right? And so if I go to a push-up position, I'm here. I could stay here all night long. And then if I go to do a pull-up, I'm here. And if I tried to get out of the pool and there was a fake wall in front of me, I'd be here. So everything is in this same plane of motion. I'm getting out of a pool, I'm doing a push-up, I'm doing a pull-up. So that's really how we teach swimming. This is the new position that we want our hands in. All right, not revolutionary, it's just more athletic. I don't know that I would teach this to an Olympic swimmer, but I don't coach Olympic swimmers, right, or college swimmers. I coach people with joint problems, shoulder issues, strength issues. So as soon as I went wider with my stroke, I incorporated more of my back muscles, less of my shoulder muscles, and just think about it, our back muscles are a lot bigger than our shoulder muscles, so they will fatigue less. So that's gonna be the biggest thing in open water, and then you can carry that into the pool. So if I was swimming in a lane and the dead center and there's a black line usually in the pool, right? I would want to look down and make sure I'm really swimming wide every single stroke. And I'm going to use my back, I'm going to use less of my shoulders, I'll have less fatigue, and we'll go faster when we're not as fatigued.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. Any pitfalls that you want to talk about in open water?
So we've hit on some of them. So kind of to reiterate some, a pitfall is being reliant on that wetsuit. Even if it's once or twice, you want to take it off to just monitor, right? How am I swimming, right? Everyone says, well, I don't have to kick in a wetsuit. Well, you're probably kicking more than you realize. It's not a big kick. You're probably not kicking a whole lot in the pool either, right? But it does change the way that we swim. It's basically like swimming with a pull buoy. And most people don't swim with a pull buoy 100% of the time in the pool. Some people try to. That's another pitfall, right? We become reliant on equipment. We become reliant on our watches. We all like swimming with our watch, but I would say look at your watch at the end of practice. At the end of practice, you know how long you swam, the distance, your average pace, right? But just enjoy the water. Last night, we got to look at the sunset. It was amazing, but there are still people looking at their watch, thinking about their distance, and those things will come. Speed will come. So definitely just enjoy the swim a little bit more, and I think you'll fall into a rhythm. Another pitfall is not breathing alternate side. So if you don't have a neck problem, you want to breathe on both sides. You're going to be in a race sometime where the waves are coming on the left, so you're breathing on the right. And it might be vice versa. And so if you're in the pool or the ocean, you never breathe on the left side, well, that's going to be a problem for you. And then lastly, I mean, people cross their arms so far over because they were told originally that they really needed to be streamlined. Right, and just not so much anymore, right? We want to swim smarter, not harder. We want to swim for a whole hour practice or more, and maybe for the next 50 years, right? So just kind of getting our head out of what we were taught in the past and feeling what feels good for us. And people always tell me, I feel it here. Did you tell me that yesterday? But I feel it here.
I said that too. I said it. I feel it in my back.
Yeah. You got to feel in lots of places, right? My calf was hurting me the other day when I was swimming. We use all of our muscles when we swim, every single muscle. So, just staying the course and not being so concerned about what you feel, as long as you feel good. You feel good, keep doing that.
Awesome. Did you stretch before you get into the pool or do open water? And should you do it afterwards as well? Excellent
question. So, there's a little bit of science behind that, but there's probably no need to overthink everything, right? So think of your body or your muscles as a rubber band, right? Do you have a rubber band here? No. If I have a rubber band and I start pulling it right away, it's probably gonna snap. If it's an older rubber band, it's gonna snap a lot easier, okay? So if I took that same rubber band and really warmed it up, right, actually built some heat, rubber is elastic, right? Our muscles have elasticity. It is gonna stretch a little bit further, Okay. So if we're stretching before we go in the water, we don't want to do a static stretch. We don't want to just hold our muscle here because it's going to do a whole lot of scientific stuff in there that we don't need to get into because it doesn't matter. Right? So we want a dynamic stretch, okay? We want to move, maybe we'll do some lunges, right? We're going to walk around at the very least. We don't want to just start our exercise while we're not warmed up. So dynamic stretches, Google it, right? Movement, not a hold on your stretch. But at the end of practice, that's a great time to do a static stretch, right? Tricep stretch, quadricep stretch. That's where you can hold it a little bit more like yoga movements, all right? And that's going to release that lactic acid that you built. That's what makes us feel really sore and tight. And so that's the time that we want to do more of that static stretching and holding it. But I would absolutely stretch in some regard, warm up before, stretch after, because that's a pretty big miss if you're not doing it. Your body's missing out on something. I would even say swim a little bit less, right? I mean, if your practice is going right till the end where you have to shower and get out and go to work, I would probably say to cool down, which probably a lot of people don't do either. Do that stretching, and then you might be missing out on 5 or 10 minutes of your workout, but that is part of your workout. You're missing out if you're not. So your workout doesn't just consist of your laps. Your workout is your warm-up, whether it's in or out of the pool. And that's a good thing about swimming. We do like to start easy. Then you go into your workout, all right? You're cooled down. You want to cool yourself down and stretch. So there's probably 4 parts of workout, not just the hard swimming.
And lastly, do you have any videos that you would recommend? Like, is there a swimmer or a video series that you would recommend that we watch?
So there's so many good people online. It's hard right nowadays to go through the good data and the bad data. There's a lot of things out there. I found one recently that said the exact opposite. It was almost like he was making a joke, and then I realized that he was being serious. So it really is hard to find the right stuff. Right now, I follow a bit of total immersion swimming, but I change a lot of it to match what I like to do and what feels good for me. And the same Carolyn Pipes. So, I mean, she just went into the Hall of Fame. She's got a lot of methods. That was a clinic that I took. That's now why I swim wide. And I mean, she proved it to me in one 30-minute session, how much stronger I got. I mean, my time got faster and my shoulders hurt less. And so I kind of bridged the gap between total immersion and Carolyn Pipes, those 2 methods. And it's find what works for you, right? Not everyone is going to fit into one mold. So there are things I like a long stroke. But I like a really short follow through, right? I mean, follow through all the way back here. Who's swimming back here? That's not making me faster, right? So a shorter stroke, right? But I still like to hold it and glide. Where total immersion is lots of gliding, and for me that just doesn't work. So I glide more than some, less than others. I like a short stroke, but not the shortest of strokes. So find what works for you. But those are the 2 resources that I really like that aided in my swimming a lot. And you know, Total Master Swimming, that's the knowledge that all of our coaches bring really from those 2 theories.
So tell us how we could get in touch with Total Master Swimming, and give us a little 30-second commercial.
Sure. So our website's up, totalmasterswimming.com. You're going to see some amazing coaches when you come to the pool deck. We mainly swim at the Aquatic Center on mornings and evenings. We're a master's team, so all coaches are certified and go through pretty extensive training. But we also swim with the team, right? We're not just your coaches. We're your swimmers. We'll be in your lane. We're going to have dinner afterwards, and we're going to bike on the weekend. So it's a community more than anything. And, you know, really, you're going to take a lot of tips away. And the key to getting faster is swimming more, right? And so for me, swimming alone, not as motivating as swimming with a group. And if I try to swim, you know, 3-4 days a week, I like a group of people to swim with. So we hope to see you there.
Well, thank you so much, Shawn. This was great. I don't think there's any other questions. So I guess without further ado, we will see you next time. Thanks, everyone, for signing in.